Hey, everybody. So thank you for joining me this wonderful Thursday evening. As always, all the gratitude in the world for your taking the time out of your night to join me and have a wonderful conversation. So before we get into this evening's guest, let me go ahead and get all the particulars out of the way as we do every single night. So guys, if this is your first time watching the show, we are streaming live on YouTube. So you can check us out on our YouTube channel. At www.youtube.com/made from scratch broadcast. That is our channel page. Guys, do us a favor. If you're watching there, hit the like and subscribe button. We are always trying to build our viewership, and hit the notification bell. It'll let you know whenever we do schedule new lives coming up, and then it'll send you a notification whenever we are on live and whenever we drop new content. So if you're watching on YouTube, guys, check us out there. Thank you so much if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, we are streaming live on Facebook. So if you're watching on Facebook, you can check us out there as well at www.facebook.com/made from scratch podcast. A little bit different there on Facebook. And you can also connect with me on my personal page on Facebook as well. I do accept all the friend requests. And again, you can watch us there live as well. And we stream live on Twitter. So you can check us out on Twitter. And our Twitter handle is a little bit different. It is at MFSB Live on Twitter, guys. We are streaming live there via Periscope. And you can drop in your comments there as well. Follow us on Twitter. We follow back. And again, drop in any comments, retweets, anything like that as well, guys. Appreciate you if you're watching there on Twitter. And of course, we are streaming live on LinkedIn. So if you're watching on LinkedIn this evening, guys, thank you so much as well. Drop it down in the comments. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a connection invitation, whatever you want to call it. And I try to respond to every single one of them that I get every day. So guys, thank you so much if you're watching on LinkedIn. And then you can check us out on our website, and that is at www.madefromscratchpodcast.com. You can find access to a lot of our past episodes. You can find links to the podcast version of the show, which we do stream live on, or which we do have on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overbreaker. There's quite a few that it distributes to, so you can check us out there as well on our website. So, guys, thank you. We got all the particulars out of the way. Thank you, Judge Schrader. Judge Schrader is watching on Instagram, and we are streaming as well on Instagram. And you can check us out there on Instagram at Made from Scratch Broadcast. We do a little bit different on Instagram. It's a kind of a behind the scenes sort of thing. So we do it a little bit different on Instagram just because we can't stream live there. That's the only difference. But other than that, guys, a little bit of extra fun. You get to see a lot of behind the scene things that go on. So guys, let's get started with this evening's guest. She is a social media marketer, but she's also got an interesting journey on how she got started in social media. And she is the CEO of Like a Voss Social Media. So guys, help me welcome to the show this evening's guest, Amanda Relyea Voss.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Amanda. Hey, there you go. Hey, mother. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yes. So, one of the things that I always, again, and I'm going to pull this up real quick, guys, you can check out her website. Go to www.likeavossm.com there, guys, and you can check out her company page there as well. Connect with Amanda. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, of course, well, how about we start this? Why don't we talk a little bit about yourself? Kind of tell us how you got your journey started in social media marketing. What was the things that led you up into that? And then we'll talk about how you started your own company.
Okay, so do you want like the long version or like the shortened version?
Let's go with the long version. I got an hour, so I'm cool with it.
Oh, I forgot. That's right. We're having a whole hour. Okay, so I wanted to be many things throughout my lifetime. I wanted to be a musician, and I got very, very far in music. And then I decided I want to be a photographer, and I got into some of the top photography schools in Canada. Okay. And that didn't work out. So I ended up at St. Lawrence College in Kingston, Ontario. And the program back then, so I'm going to date myself a bit, but it was integrated marketing communications. And I think now it's AMC. I don't even know what the name is, but I got a diploma doing that. And my first job out of school was actually as a bank teller at a local credit union. And I did that job for about a year. And I was a very good model employee. There's, I didn't have any reprimands. And then within the span of 3 weeks, I was late 3 times and I got fired.
Oh, wow. So quickly?
Well, 3 write-ups and you're gone. That was their rule.
Yeah.
So I took that as my subconscious kind of telling me that it was time for me to move on to something else and actually use the the diploma that I have. So I ended up meeting a young gentleman who was running a business in Kingston called Kingston Kiosk. And back then, directory listings online were kind of the new fancy thing that businesses wanted. So this was a Kingston directory. And he hired me to A, sell directory listings, and then B, run their social media page, which was focused on promoting local events. And I did that for a few months and I loved it. And I was good at sales and it was really fun and it was a laid back environment. And then the woman that was doing that job at the Ottawa office went to pursue a higher education. So that position opened up. And at the same time, that gentleman got promoted to CEO. So he's like, hey, I'm going to bring you with me.
Awesome.
So I went to Ottawa and I did the same job. So I was the events and promotions manager and my job was to run their social media accounts promoting Ottawa events. I signed a contract for salary, which
oh, yeah,
didn't see. I mean, back then I guess it was cool, but now I'm like, how did I live?
Right,
but what happened was I was doing this job and I brought it up to him. I said, okay, so I'm doing this job that you're paying me for, but there's no revenue stream from what I'm doing. Is it okay if I put together like a proposal on how you can make money with this element of the business? Because it was the same business model. It was the directory listings to businesses. And then the events was like the bonus to get people to the site because everyone wants to know what's happening, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I put together this proposal and we ended up running the social media pages kind of like an advertising service. So there was quite a large following. I don't remember the numbers now, but I'd say like total probably 200,000 between Twitter, Facebook, and then in the newsletter. Instagram was not a thing. None of the other things were a thing, and that's how long ago it was. And I started generating revenue in a job that previously never generated revenue, and I made them over $100,000 my first year. Oh, and this is like, I was young and I was also, like the secretary and like the coffee getter and like the ushering people into the meeting room and the welcomer. I ran all the contests for them. I did the sponsorships. So I had a lot of fun doing it. It was an awesome job. It was a great first experience in the industry. But what ended up happening was because I was reaching out to local businesses to get their events and sell them these, like, so it'd be like 4 Facebook posts for $200 and then a newsletter banner. Right, yeah. Whatever the package was, I would connect with the business owners. Yeah. So then they're watching very closely what these channels were doing. And, I was really friendly. I was very responsive. I wrote great content. So a bunch of the owners in town were like, hey, do you have any interest in taking on some side work and helping us run our social media channels? But the number one difference there is that I was using social media as a promotion tool for other businesses, whereas they wanted help putting together a strategy to promote their business. So when I brought it to the CEO, he told me it was a conflict of interest and I had signed a non-compete. So I quit.
Way you go, right?
Yeah, I quit. And then I got really, really scared. So I looked for a job and I actually moved to Petawawa where my boyfriend was living, and I got a job selling cars at Honda. Didn't know a whole lot about cars, but knew how to sell. So that was a plus. I did my, education, got my OMVIC certification and started selling cars. And then I was running like a Voss on the side. And at that point I had probably a handful of clients paying me very little because I was green. I didn't know really what I was doing. I was just trying to help. And like promotion on social is different than a social strategy. Right. So I needed the extra income to cover the bills, and I was actually still paying for the Ottawa apartment because they wouldn't let me out of my lease, and I was living somewhere else. So I was throwing money out the window. But luckily, I was really good at selling cars.
Right.
I sold a lot of cars in a really short amount of time, but I mean, I was the only female sales associate, and it was a military town, so who do you want to buy a car from? A young, exuberant, excited girl, or a scuzzy old man who's grumpy all the time, right?
Right.
And then I went on vacation in the winter, and I didn't want to go back to the car sales job. It just wasn't. I didn't feel energized by it, and I thought, you know what, I really want to give like a Voss a real go. So I quit that job. And when I returned from Christmas holidays, I kind of went full force with Like a Voss, and that's when I signed my first major client. And the best part about that was back then, it was an hourly job, and she had a lot of work. So I ended up working full time for one client and then managing the smaller ones like on the side. Wow. And that was what really kicked it off, because I was making enough income to pay the bills and wasn't worried about, all of the other life stuff. I could really concentrate on the business. And that woman was my original mentor, Leanna Ling. I'll send her this link later. Hi, Leanna.
Yeah. Hello, Leanna.
She's an amazing woman, and I worked with her for several years. I got introduced to a lot of amazing people through her. And then I was also building other clientele from doing, I actually found clients on freelancer websites, because of course, at this point, I was alone. I was doing all the work. I was working 12 hours a day. And that's how it started. And then I guess we'll just, speed it along. And I was back in Kingston a few years later, and an old professor reached out to me and said, hey, are you interested in taking on an intern? I'm like, okay. Right. And she's like, yeah, the catch is though that you need an office space for them to work in. I'm like, okay, cool. So I went and rented a co-working space in town just so I could have an intern come help me. And it was great. It was at the Sanctuary Co-working in Kingston. And it was such a different experience from being stuck in my apartment all day by myself, having no human contact, because I lived alone all this time, right?
Yeah.
And that intern came on, and then she made herself indispensable. And when her internship was over, I'm like, all right, I can't let you leave. I have to hire you. So that was my first official employee. And we are now a team of 5, and we're spread all over Ontario, and then our web guys in the States. And we manage some pretty high profile clients in the States and some clients in Canada. And then there's also been a shift in the business. I actually do a lot of education right now, just because of, what's happening in the world. Of course. People are forced to be online, so they want to learn how to do it. And they don't necessarily have the money to pay me to do it for them. So they hire me to teach them how to do it themselves. Right. So that's kind of been a shift for 2020. But that's a long, shortish version. And then now I'm in Hamilton now. I just moved here a week ago. And my employees are in Quebec, GTA, the States. And then the girl in Kingston actually moved to Halifax for the summer. And she's a university student. She's a writer.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we're having a great time. And we've been a fully remote team the entire time, except for that one office space.
Yeah.
So, COVID hasn't really done a whole lot to the way that we run the business, because we still have our Zoom team meetings. We've always done them that way. We've always been remote. Everyone has their workspace at home. And then the clients that we have, luckily, none of them were severely affected, so they continued on, and we're going to see them through this interesting time in the world.
Well, that's good, though. I mean, that's one of the things that I say, that the people who are already prepared for this, they were able to hit the ground running and still be able to continue to work like they do as normal. They didn't have to uproot too much. They didn't have too much to stop them from be able, because again, a lot of these places were in office all the time, brick and mortar, got to show up here every day. And now they, a lot of companies, when all this hit and shut down, people were struggling to get online, how to figure out how to do so much on video calls and social media, and so much. People were lost. I mean,
setting up an e-commerce store to sell your goods that you normally were selling at your retail front, and now that you're online, you're like, how was I ever not online?
Exactly, right? Like, hey, some of the people, I don't even have a website. It's like, dude, come on, we're 2020. Websites are, even if websites are not what they used to be, you should already have one, even if it's even if it's used as a big contact me page. At least people know where to find you. And that's one of the most shocking things that I was finding out, because again, I was at that point, I was getting in all kinds of Zoom meetings and everything with like HR talent acquisition specialist. I was getting in all these just because I wanted to. I was learning how to do video, and I was learning at every possibility that I could. So I was jumping in people's Skype calls or Zoom meetings, any open happy hours, just trying to connect with people and learn.
Yeah.
And one of the funniest things was people were still talking about, hey, a lot of these companies, they don't even have like a social media marketing, aspect to what they do in their business. And I mean, and these are pretty big companies. I mean,
You would be surprised. One of my clients runs a podcast, and all of the guests on the podcast have to have over 5 million in revenue to be on it. And I obviously am writing the social media content for the promotion of that podcast, and I'm checking out their social, and they have like nothing. Which, I mean, they're at $5 million, so really, does it matter? But it's still, like I go on and I'm like, oh, like guys, like I can't even find you on Facebook. Where's your LinkedIn page? Do you have a Instagram? There's like nothing there. And they're in a space where they could definitely see benefit from it. But like, that's where I'm kind of like, I don't really know what to say in that sense, because they're making 5 million in revenue. Who knows what they're bringing in, right? Revenue. So they're doing something right. But, for a smaller business that's trying to expand the audience and reach people that aren't, in their immediate vicinity or in their actual like personal network, like you need to be on social, you need to be outreaching and putting yourself out there in front of people. And that's the power of social. Like I've met so many amazing human beings. I'm obsessed with Instagram. So I was not obsessed with it before, but now I'm actually obsessed. And I moved to Hamilton, and like 2 weeks before, I was like finding businesses on Hamilton and following them and talking to the owners and saying like, oh, I want to, because I always like to support local. So I had this like list of businesses that I wanted to buy from now that I'm here. And, I made all these cool friends. And like, I've actually had in-person meetings. They're like, hey, want to go for coffee? Well, not since COVID, but I like prior, right? Yes. But I've actually met people in person after having an online exchange and really getting along with them. Yeah. And like, I never would have met this person before. And that's what's really, really cool. And, one of the important things to remember as a business owner when it comes to social media, I mean, I'm a big fan of organic. So paid ads are there. Yes, they work depending on the business and how well they're executed. But organic means making a connection, making a community. And community is what social is about. Not about being like sell.
Exactly, right. And when one of the things that I've learned as well going on this journey of learning how to navigate social media, how to get really involved in it, because again, I'm like you, if you can go get it organically and you can put in the time and work to find those people, I mean, why wouldn't you want to? Because again, there's so many opportunities that you don't know when or where they could open just by connecting with the right person. I mean, just going to do a little bit of investigative work. Hey, I see that you do this.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, believe me, I've had so many doors open just by planting seeds with people, and I don't even have anything to sell. That's the funny part. Could you imagine if you actually had a business and you went out there and did that and went out there and said, hey, you know what? This guy, I mean, LinkedIn gives you all the tools. Every social media gives you all the tools. I mean, my whole thing is go Google something and then see what happens whenever you Google a topic or a business that you're looking for. And then find social media channels. Again, LinkedIn, you can go do the same thing. That tells you everybody that works for that company if they're connected on there. I mean, so if you want to find a connection,
go find it.
Go find it, right? I mean, to me, it's not super hard to at least put in the effort. Now, what your closing rate and all that other stuff, that's all on you. But I mean, at least finding those people out there, I mean, it's really just putting in the work. I mean, I don't have tons of followers on any of my social media channels, but I've found ways to connect with the right people. Just again, talking, planting seeds, having conversations. And again, boom, before you know it, you're this person. Hey, I see what you do. Hey, that's pretty cool. Let me connect you with this person. You can maybe help them, or maybe, you guys can collaborate on something. So I've been again, it's just reaching out to the right people, and again, engaging organically, and
Yeah.
really showing interest in what they do. I mean, that goes a long way. I found it's just showing interest in the person, and not so much about how much you can extract from their wallet. Because again,
And that's where social has shifted. So I'd say, like a few years ago, it was presenting the perfect polished image, and now it's about being real and raw and making those like actual connections with people.
Mhm.
And it's also really cool to see how people can actually spot a fake now. It's like, oh, there's something off about this. Like, this person's not being legit. Like, this is not who they are. And again, going back to Instagram,
Yeah.
but like when I go and there's influencers out there who are real and whatever, but like those feeds that are just perfect and they're all like there's nothing wrong, and I'm like, okay, how much time do you actually put into doing that? Like, why don't you just be yourself? Like, no one's life is perfect. Life is messy. It's okay to admit that. And I think that's something that has definitely come out a lot more, which I'm absolutely loving.
Yeah.
Because I'm a messy person. I'm weird, and I'm not afraid to, showcase that. I put a Facebook post up on my personal page. I was like, hey, anyone want to see me get super awkward, blush, and talk too loud? Listen to this podcast. And all my friends are like, oh, that's so cute. Ha ha ha.
Right. But this is why I say what I present every single day is just me, being real. And again, all the fancy stuff and whatever, again, that's just me being creative. That's what it really comes down to. But I tell everybody, you don't have to do all this stuff. You can get on Instagram, start on this Instagram Live. My Instagram Live feed is totally different from what my show looks like. Because again, I do a behind the scenes thing. I talk to people separately than I do when I'm talking with a guest. So they see something different. They see the raw aspect of what I create on Instagram. So because again, I could, if I wanted to, it would take me a lot more time to do a polished show on Instagram at the same time. But again, for me, it's about the conversation. It's about what I can bring to the table, what kind of value I can share with folks. And that's where I work a lot with what I do. I try to do as much to bring a good, nice presentation that people will enjoy, and they can take something from it every single day. And this is what I push. I push the positive energy, and I push the creative aspect of life. Those are the two things that I'm passionate about.
Okay, so I read these. So I clicked on live comments, and I hadn't done. So it's my first live podcast, everyone. So this is weird, whatever. But I clicked. So Beth Crosby tuning in on YouTube was like, "What's a Voss?" And she's like, "Oh, haha, her hyphenated last name." And then Sam Downs just came in on LinkedIn. She's like, "Messy weird person here. Hey, Sam Downs, add me on LinkedIn right now. We're gonna chat, girl. You seem cool already."
Yeah, so this is the fun thing about what this show can bring and how you can interact with everybody on here. So whenever people are being a part of the show and they have questions or whatever it is, that's a whole different aspect of what you would see on a polished video like on YouTube. Because you can tell they go back and do a lot of editing work. They do all these things to make it really great. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But I love to see the real, raw emotions. Whatever you get comes across the screen. That's what happens. And that's what I love about live streaming. Yes, it's a little bit weird at first, but once you get used to it, I mean, you're episode 79. So I've already done 79 episodes since I started doing this back in February. And again, I've had cats jump on the screen. I've had.
I was hoping my dog would come and say hi, but she's sleeping.
I've had my dog go nuts on a live show because he comes with me in my studio. I've had where I'm talking to a guest and the guest just drops from the conversation. So that's another
like the connection. Like,
yeah.
Hi. And you're like, well, I guess it's me for the next 45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And then I get it where sometimes the screen freezes up. There's all kinds of things that can happen in a live stream. But I tell them, look, this is what it is. This is why I love doing this. Because again, you're going to get, this is real. This is authentic. This is nothing fake about it. I can't, I can't fake that with losing a guest live. I mean, who plans for that? Nobody does.
It's funny you say that because I literally, like, as we were coming on, I'm like, oh, what happens if I like drop off randomly, like kind of sign back in or something? Like, my internet's great and all, but I actually went through these in my head. I'm like, okay, if you just get disconnected, try to go back in, or like maybe message them on Facebook, be like, what do I do? Oh my god.
Yeah. So that's whole nother thing. But look, and most of the times it's what happens with their guests, their internet, whatever they're using, a Wi-Fi signal. I don't know. It just depends on what kind of services they have. But the other night, I mean, I'm hardwired into a modem, so I got good upload speed. I've been practicing that every time, and my modem went out the other night. I mean, I'm in the middle of a conversation with a
so what happens when you go offline? Are they just like solo on the screen and they're like, okay, so
yeah, they're like, hey,
freestyle, let's do a dance.
So exactly. So that happened, and I had a judge on. It was actually a judge from Georgia. We were actually having a really great conversation, really awesome person, and we're sitting there talking, and all of a sudden my modem goes, I dropped from the conversation. It's just her, and she's like, what do we do? I had to click out, reset my modem, get everything back up and going, and then from there I jumped back in, and luckily she didn't leave, so we got to finish the conversation. But that was like the first time that's ever happened to me. But again, with live social media like we're doing now, streaming live, you get everything that goes along with it. I mean, I've had people cry on here. I've had live music. I've had people perform songs on here before. So I've done a whole bunch.
I'm not playing guitar. It's like packed away somewhere.
Yeah. So tell me about
bring out my clarinet.
Yeah. Tell me about that, because you were a musician, or you started in music, correct?
Yeah. So, hey mom, if you're still watching, I don't know. I got a Facebook message, and she usually messages me on there, so she might have said I have to leave. Yeah. So she put me in piano when I was, I hope it's not wrong, mom, but like 5. And I didn't want to. And then we had this, like, it was really cool. She made this like practice board and like graphed it off. And when you like did your 30 minutes of practice, you got a gold star. And and then when you got like 5 gold stars, you get a big red metallic star at the end of the week. Yeah. And like as a child, like there was no like gift at the end. It was just that big red star. But oh man, I wanted that red star every week. And like I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. And I got really good. And I went through I got grade 6 Royal Conservatory of Canada. So that's like a testing examination thing to say like I'm at a certain level and that's what you need to be in university. And then I had grade 3 for clarinet, and then grade 3 for musical theory, which means I know a whole lot now. It is a language, and if you don't practice it, you lose it. I have lost some. I can still read music, but I tried to learn guitar, and I've been playing for like 3 years, and I know like 5 chords, and they're all country songs. Wagon wheel, and like the 4 major country chords, and like I play like 7 or 8 songs, but it's all the same chords. Right. I really find tablature difficult to read because it's like a clarinet. Like if this is your keyboard, right? Like this is a C. Well, this is the only way to play that note that corresponds with the music. Whereas on guitar, it's like here, or you put the thing here and it's up here. And I'm like, I can't compute this. But yeah, like I still play casually guitar. I am relearning piano, which is actually going quite well. I like, it's a little bit of finger memory. So like I know the scales. So I'm just practicing scales every night. So that, I can get it back. And then I brought up a couple of pieces of music that I really, really enjoy. I'm trying to relearn the Moonlight Sonata and some like classical stuff. Hey, classical fans, what's up? Hey, Russ.
So Russ is awesome, man. Russ is actually a former musician as well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, find me on. I don't really do YouTube because I'm just looking at where they're coming in.
No, I'm going to tell you, Russ does the same thing I do. So I'm going to introduce you to him because he does a live streaming show as well. But he does his Monday through Friday during the morning. So it's a little bit different.
That's way better for me because you know what? Okay, I'm going to do this. I'll show you. So I made this at 7:40 and guzzled it because I go to bed at 8 o'clock. So I'm 39 minutes past my bedtime and I did not want to go on the show. So I might be up to like 11 because I literally chugged a coffee before coming on here. So I'd be like,
Yeah, so I'm gonna introduce you to Russ. Russ is a cool guy. Again, he's a former musician. I think he before he shattered his arm. He had an accident, whatever. He used to play a lot. So Russ is a really cool guy to connect with. He is my mentor when it comes to doing live streaming. He's the one
very cool. I like that. You see, I love when the mentors care enough to like participate. Obviously, he wants to see how the show's going, so he came on to watch it live. Good job, Russ.
So Russ is my mentor. He's the one that kind of walked me through the process whenever I first started investigating how to do this, and I modeled what I've done after what he does. We have our different styles, but again, we do have a lot of things that we share. A lot of the same people in our communities that we've built up. And he was a drummer actually.
I'm seeing that now, like drummer. Oh, hey Kenneth.
Yeah, now Kenneth is another one. He's another cool guy. Big fan of the show. But again, this is the thing about what I'm building here, and when I create this sort of community as well. I have people that I connect with that also come on here that are regulars that do this sort of thing. But yeah, you should I'm gonna connect you, like I said, with Russ. I think yeah. So he says I'm awesome. We've done a lot of things together, me and him. Where we tested a lot of different technologies, sort of things. We've nerded out about doing this sort of the live streaming thing because it's a little bit different aspect. Me and him come from the same school of thought, because I learned from him is that I hate dealing with video editing.
Oh my gosh. What's up? Same.
It takes time to do that. And me and him are about putting in the work pre-show. So once you create what we have on the screen and whatever we share, we don't have to go back and do hardly anything. Our job gets done ahead of time. And then when we're done, we got to move on to the next one. Because again, believe me, I'm at episode 79. He's at 179. So that kind of tells you how long he's been doing it. And why I still call him the king, because he gets he is a machine sometimes. And with what I learned from him is the fact that you got to be consistent when you do this. So
that's, you know what, same thing as social media.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's one of the things that I tell people that I've connected with, who I try to show this thing as well. I said, look, if you're going to get into something like what we're talking about in any kind of social media, if you want to create a Facebook group, right, you got to be consistent with what you do so that people know. I mean, people know 7:00 now, Central Standard Time. I'm here. I'm live. They know what's going on. If I do not show up, I start getting messages or phone calls or, hey, what's going on? Has, you know, so, and again, it's because I built, let's see.
What scrumptiously delicious and what tasty good topic are you discussing tonight?
Yes.
Edibly. Okay. Sorry. Wow. I can't read.
So, you know, he's got his own style. Kenneth is
social media / music / networking / is your answer, kind of.
So, you know, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about too as well was when we had our initial conversation, you had got a puppy.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah. So kind of tell me about that a little bit as well, because you were kind of nervous at that point taking a puppy on and going, how's this going to work out with, you know, and you were going to move it and change a whole lot of things in your life.
So I fell in love with the breed miniature pincers when I was quite young. And I had been searching through shelters to find a rescue, and I found one. Ooh. And I still remember his name. This is how much it hurt me. His name was Charlie, and he'd been in an abusive home, and he was being rehabilitated at the foster home. And I fully planned on adopting him, and I bought some stuff and did some I took a dog training course prior to having him, so I would know how to train him.
Exactly.
And the foster family fell in love and kept him.
Oh, wow.
So since then, I have been searching foster homes, and I never was able to find a miniature pincer. I don't know why, because there's lots of dogs for adoption, but just I was very, I wanted a small dog. I liked the personality of that dog. It matched my personality. Like, here read the profile, like, this is the kind of dog this is. It's like choosy about who they're friends with, weird, acts out, is super loud. I'm like, hi.
Right.
So then I started researching breeders, and that was a whole other process. I was unaware of how that actually works. So I was like, okay, here's a cool breeder. I reached out, and then they're like, all right, we're gonna. So there's like a few variations that are like, okay, cool, you're on the waiting list, which is actually the worst thing a breeder can say to you. Or, hey, fill out this questionnaire about, you know, your information or whatever. Or, hey, I'm going to interview you. So in my opinion, the hi, I'm going to interview you means I give a shit about where my dogs are going.
Right.
So I met Meredith Riley. She owns Pinup Miniature Pincer. It's out of Chilliwack, BC. And she phoned me, and we had a 2-hour conversation. And we got to know each other, and she was just like, wanted to know about my life and why I wanted a dog and why I wanted a miniature pincer, and, you know, what my, like, did I want to show? Did I want to do agility? Because she breeds show dogs. So anyway, I told her about my life and where I was at. And at that point I was working from home. And then it was within 3 weeks of that conversation that I decided to get that physical office. And I asked the building manager, and they said, no, you're not allowed to bring a dog here. And Meredith had said it's very essential for this breed of dog that you were there with him or her at the beginning, just to establish your bond and do a little training and get the potty training started. And you can't just leave it alone for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
They are very, very clingy. Check out my Instagram. There's a picture of her literally. I'm in a rolly chair, and she's under the wheels in the middle with her paw on my heel.
Oh, wow.
I'm like that, and that's where she is when I'm working. She won't like go away. Now she did go to sleep because it's 46 minutes past her bedtime. Right. Yeah, she was born on January 18th, and she was supposed to be with me a lot sooner than she was, but COVID happened, and it suspended animal cargo on airlines, and that was how I was supposed to get her. And also, I couldn't fly to get her because there was no flights anyway.
Yes.
So I was in Halifax at that time with my boyfriend, and I was supposed to be home. And I decided to just prolong the trip because why would I go home and spend time by myself when I could hang out with him, right? Like, I had an office there too. He's got a big apartment. And then Meredith texts me. She goes, so they're opening it up on April 25th. No, May. Yeah, April 25th was the date that WestJet was reopening. And she got Cleo on the flight, and it was one of 4 animals that was allowed to be on.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, she's been with me for almost 2 months now. She was 19 weeks old on Sunday. She's very smart, super clingy, very quiet. She doesn't like the neighbor's dog very much. So she's on the balcony hanging out, and that dog comes out. She like loses her shit. So I bring her in. But yeah, she's doing really well. Potty training's been a little bit of a difficult thing.
Yeah.
She's getting it, but because she's so small. So for those watching, I have miniature pincer friends on Instagram that are 15 pounds, and it's the same breed. My dog is 4.8 pounds.
Oh.
So she's this big. Like, there's no doggy clothes that will fit her because she literally will like walk out of the neck hole because she's so small. I bought her a jacket, put it on her, and she's like, nope, and just walked out of it.
Right.
But yeah, so she's very, very, very small. She was the runt to the litter, which I asked Meredith. I'm like, she's really small. She's like, yeah, honey, she's the runt. Did you not know that? That's why I thought. Her personality and mine are very similar. So yeah, it's been fun. She's a great companion. I'm here alone until my boyfriend releases from the military. So he'll be here in a few months. But until then, I'm just kind of warming up the apartment for him, and her and I are bonding and riding out COVID because hopefully stuff kind of opens up a little bit more. Because like right now I'm getting everything delivered. I never leave, like groceries, dial a bottle, you know?
Yeah, right. Everything gets taken to you. I mean,
and then, well, his parents are here. So once a week I go over there. I've already seen his mother this week. She took me out to Lowe's, and I got some curtain rods, which super girl moment. Didn't measure the windows, bought a pretty curtain rod, and it's too short. So I have to go back and return them and get the proper length. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That happens, you know. And the reason I bring that up because I have my dog. He people already know who watch the show. He comes and does the show with me. He is a big black lab.
I heard a bark before.
Yes.
I was like, oh, he has a dog.
That's my dog, and he hangs out with me while I do the show. So once he starts getting super, super active and ready to get out of here, you'll know because his bark is so deafening. I've had to end shows so quickly because he wants to get out. Yeah, exactly. So that's awesome. I love that. So Kenneth had a question. He said, Amanda, I noticed a tattoo on your arm. What is it? Looks interesting. Please tell me or tell us. I want to know.
Okay, so the screen's backwards, so that's so strange because it should be this. Okay, so it's I don't know if I want to stand up. All right, so okay, so this is a sea turtle, which is my favorite animal. This is a clarinet, which I played as I don't know if Kenneth, you weren't maybe on, but I played clarinet for several years. I got very far with it. This is a guitar.
Oh, look at that.
So that's my my second guitar is a Fender. I'm hoping to get another one, even though I'm not great. Whatever, I'm allowed. And then this is sorry, wrong way. This is a piano because again, piano.
Piano. There you go.
Oh my god, can I do it? Okay, my armpit, gross. Okay, so that is so that's my teddy bear. His name's Anthony.
Oh wow.
I still sleep with him every night, and he likes to protect me, so I got him tattooed. And then this is a sunflower right there, which is my favorite flower.
Yeah, look at that.
And then we've got paisley, which is my favorite pattern. Oh. And then, oh my god, this is so difficult. So then, a feather quill. I don't know if you can see the quill.
Yeah, you can see the quill part.
Right?
That's pretty cool.
Because I'm a writer. Okay, and then we've got my cowboy boots. I love country, y'all. I actually own these boots. Like, it's the exact design. I brought a photo when he did it. And then we've got the camera, which is an Olympus fully manual camera. And that was my mother's camera, and it was the very first camera I ever did photos on. And I was very heavy into photography for several years.
Awesome.
So it's basically Mandy in a tattoo. That's how I describe it. And then I'll show you this.
What is that? Oh yeah.
This is a really cool story. I wish my best friend was watching this, but so this is the first 5 bars of a piece of music, and my best friend's brother, Christopher Sanford, look him up. He's a comedian. He's freaking hilarious. He was in the Kingston Youth Orchestra with me at the same time, and he composed a symphony at the age of 18. So this is like all of you who know what an orchestra is comprised of. A full symphony at the age of 18 called Into Oblivion. Best thing ever. And this is the first 5 bars of that piece of music. And it also happened to be a solo on my instrument. And in the youth orchestra, I actually played bass clarinet. So for those of you who know what it is, it's like the big one with like the metal that comes out. And then it looks like a really long black saxophone.
Yeah.
And I was, I guess, the only one that wanted to play. I was second chair, so I wasn't the best one. Rochelle was first chair, but they needed someone to do bass parts. So I played bass clarinet. But yeah, I thought that was so special. So I was like, hey, Christopher, can you send me the score for this? So he sent it to me, and I took it to the artist. And I'm like, hey, he's like, straight lines are hard, honey, but I'll give it a go. And I've got a bunch more, but I will not be showing those live.
There you go. So that's awesome, though. Again, you get to share yourself expressively all over your body, man. That's pretty. Again, it's art.
It's my expression. Like, as you can see, I'm a huge art fan.
Look at that.
I have it everywhere, all over my apartment. It's all original work. So like, it's either me or someone I know. I don't go to IKEA and like buy of like prefab painting. Like, I make it, or I commission someone to make it. I just don't like having things that like everybody, I guess that sounds silly because I do have things everyone else has, but I like to really make my spaces mine. And that's what helps me, you know, like, this is my happy place. Like, my office is my happy place. Like, if I'm feeling anxious or stressed out, or I'm having a bad day, I will literally come and sit here and be like, okay, you're good. Right. And like, I got my dual screens and my light and my nice keyboard and everything, you know, and I'm like, okay, like, you're fine. I really, like, I love what I do for a living, and I love making my office like my safe haven.
There you go. There's nothing wrong with that. I love that. So let me ask you, this is the questions where I usually ask most of my guests before we get out of here. So the first one, let me ask you is, what do you plan to do once everything opens back up? Do you have something special that you would want to go do as far as personally, like go visit something, go fly somewhere, go do some trip.
Yeah,
like
I want to go
that?
see my mom.
There you go. That was pretty simple.
Well, so my mom and I lived in Kingston, and my brother for our entire lives. I was born in Joyceville, Ontario, and I grew up in Kingston. I lived in Ottawa and Petawawa and Edmonton for a stint and back. But I always go back to Kingston, and she moved to BC in November. And at that time, I was going to the Genius Network with a client. So the day that she packed see, there's my stumble. I knew I'd do it once. Packed up her apartment and moved, I was on the flight to Arizona. And then I did my Arizona trip, and then I went to see her immediately. So she had just unpacked her new home. I went to see her, was there for like 6 weeks over Christmas. And then I went back to Kingston. So I didn't realize how I was going to feel without her in Kingston until several months after she had left because of how it worked. And yeah, like we're really close. I was texting her right before I came on. I called her yesterday. I call her almost every day. And yeah, it's summertime and it's BC and it's Camel River, and I love hiking and nature and camping. So I'm hoping that I can make it out there. I will not put her at risk though, or myself. So until, it's really calmed down, I took a big chance flying back just to get Cleo. And now that I'm here, I'm not scared. And I do go out and I don't wear a mask. I shouldn't say that, but I have one like just in case mask if I really need it. But I don't want to put myself or others at risk unnecessarily. And I have everything I need here. So I don't see the point. And then I get to hang out with my in-laws.
There you go.
So they have a pool and they love Cleo. So there's my
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's awesome. And then the last, Russ says he loves Camel River.
Yay!
So Russ has traveled around. He's a traveling man. He's been around much. So the last question that I usually ask most of my guests before we get out of here is, when the book is said and done on Amanda, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, and what do you want to be remembered for?
Being kind.
Oh, look at that. That's pretty simple. There's nothing wrong with that.
I was asked that before, and I answered that, and the host was like, that was easy. I'm like, that's just my thing. Hey, I just want to be nice.
Again, here's the whole thing, right? There's no wrong answer to that. I just
want people to be like, oh, she was so nice. She was so kind. She was a genuinely kind human being.
Russ is saying Victoria is awesome.
Yeah, Victoria is close to Camel River.
So awesome. So that's great, though. Sometimes it's the simplest answers that make a lot of more sense than. And again, I tell everybody there's no wrong answer. I just love hearing that because, again, people look at how their life is going to end a little bit differently. Some people really take it really, really seriously. And some people say, you know what? I think everything's beautiful, and that's what I want to be remembered for. So it's pretty simple. You don't have to do. Kindness is cool. That's
I was trying to think, but it's
you'll love Russ because that's his thing. Kindness is cool. He is a kindness ambassador, is what I like to call him. Really cool dude. And again, he kind of helped me get me on my path. So, Amanda, I know I've kept you up 58 minutes past your bedtime, and I do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to have a conversation with me. So kind of real quick, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, and then of course your website is right there, guys. You can see it in big bold letters there. It's www.likeavossm.com. So where can people connect with you mostly? Where you have a lot of interaction?
So if you like me as a human being, Mandy Relyea Voss, no space, no nothing on Instagram. That's where I actually am, like living my day to day. Like, here's my coffee, here's my dog, here's my laundry pile, whatever. Like a Voss SM on Instagram. Yeah. Also on Twitter, like a Voss social media, on LinkedIn, Amanda Relyea Voss on LinkedIn. So I switch between Mandy and Amanda.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to take this opportunity because we have some musicians on the live right now. Yes. I have another business. I don't really pump it out a whole lot, but I want to start doing that. So it's Remix social media. and it is dedicated to helping musicians with their social media. And we very much focus on education and consulting in that business. But we just redid our website, and it went live today.
Awesome.
And you can find us on all the platforms as well.
That's good. Check it out. Look at you. Expanding those horizons. That's what I'm all about. Making that go. Why just settle for one thing? This is the one thing I could never understand when I talk about people going out there and doing social media. They always tell you, and I get this. I hear this all the time. Oh, niche down, niche down, niche down. This is a big term that I hear a lot. Let me tell you what. I have a little bit different philosophy, and not a lot of people agree with it. But my thing is, why do I want a piece of the pie when I can have the whole damn pie? If I put in the time and the work. People are doing this. I mean, yes, it gets to that point, but you know what? Here's my theory how it works. Okay. You see guys, again, this is what it is, and they might be the exception to the rule, but you see guys like Gary Vaynerchuk. He's got all kinds of social media. He doesn't just concentrate on one thing. He goes.
That's accurate. That's a good example.
He goes for it all. And I mean, in everything. He has text messaging communities. He puts it out everywhere. And I subscribe to that theory as well. I might not be nothing right now, but in 10 years, who knows if I keep working at it.
Did you hear about the fortune cookie thing? Was that him or Joe Polish?
I don't know. Kind of what.
One of them put their face or put a little message in fortune cookies, and it was like, if you open this, text this number or whatever, and I'll answer you or something. And he was like, I just wanted to see if fortune cookie marketing was a thing, and it blew up. I heard him on a podcast. I forget. I think it was Gary Vee.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not wrong.
No, but we'll look that up. But again, here's the thing, though, right? I mean, he put in the work. Yes, he did, and it took him a long time to get there. But again, if he would have just subscribed to the theory of, hey, I just got to concentrate on one thing and that's it, that thing, a lot of the things wouldn't open up. And again, a lot of the guys are starting to subscribe to get bigger and bigger. Like David Meltzer does this now. He gets out there and he starts doing a lot. There's a lot of people that are opening up to the idea of saying, you know what, why just concentrate on one thing? And again, I'm not against those people that say, hey, I want to niche down. I'm just saying that's just not for me.
You know what? I'm the same. However, it's a little bit hard for me to completely agree with that because some of the businesses that I'm working with have a very specific target market. They can't just. It's not everybody. It's this is. I'm literally making this for this one type of person. A really good example is the Honda Fit. That's a car made for my mother, an outdoor woman who wants a small, compact, fuel efficient vehicle that can hold all of her camping gear, put a rack on top, grab her kayak and go. They marketed to that exact demographic, and that's who buys the vehicle. Children's clothing. So you're marketing to mothers mostly, right? Who buys the kids' clothes. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe some dads, sorry if there's any dads out there that go shopping. But for something like what you're doing, you want to talk to everyone. You have great, a judge, me, a musician, get on Tony Hawk, skateboarder,
anybody.
Whatever, right? So with what you're doing, totally. But I would be amiss as a marketer if I didn't say that there is a such thing as the proper target market. Well,
of course. That's why I said not everybody's just going to subscribe to this theory. I'm just saying the people that always tell you that you have to do that. I'd say there's also the exception to show you that you don't always have to concentrate that way. Yeah. And again, if what I'm doing, I'm being open and I have so many different avenues I can go pursue, whatever, that sort of thing. I don't want to be enclosed in a box about what I have to do and how I can create.
Yeah.
And that's all I do is I tell people to push for. Again, you put the limits and boundaries on yourself. You're only going to go so far. So yeah, that's what I work on. So Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to join me. It is 8:03 Central Standard Time, which just means you're an hour and 3 minutes. Yeah, you're an hour and 3 minutes past.
Did you notice how the lighting because of the sun set? It was super bright when I started. I'm like, oh, I need a computer light on my face.
So, guys, thank you so much for watching the show. Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time and having this interview, guys. Everybody that comes along and comments and is part of the show, as always, you guys make this worthwhile, and I enjoy every single night. So, again, everybody, good night. I will talk to you tomorrow, 7 o'clock, same bat time, same bat channel. Stay safe, stay positive, peace, love, and harmony, guys, and we'll get to these times together. So I'll see you tomorrow, 7 o'clock, everybody. Bye-bye for now.